the Premier is teasing elements of his new crime bill, and among those provisions would make impaired drivers pay ongoing child support if they kill the child's parent or guardian in an accident. The government compares this to a 2023 law in Texas that requires impaired drivers convicted of intoxication manslaughter to pay child support until a child is 18 or graduates high school. According to the province, there were 182 deaths caused by impaired drivers on the roads of Ontario in 2021. Last year we have data for 96 involved alcohol, 86 due to drugs. Last year the province introduced a lifetime license suspension for anyone convicted of impaired driving causing death under the criminal code. Ontario's Attorney General Doug Downey speaking at the legislature about this.
We're doing two things. We're looking at other jurisdictions to see what they do. We know, even though we have some of the strongest laws in North America, that the victims, quite frankly, the children who are left behind, can be more protected. So we're going to explore what we can do within our jurisdiction, and we will talk to the federal government if we need to get their assistance to bring this to fruition.
Members of the opposition also responding to the idea today.
I don't think there's any of us who probably doesn't know some family that is being impacted by drunk driving. And we need to do everything we can. Like, I don't know what it's going to take as a society for people to stop drinking and driving, right? We need to use every tool we have to fight back. Honestly, this government's been in power for 8 years now, and they don't seem to have made much effort in that direction, unfortunately. I don't think, for example, that deciding to put booze in gas stations is probably the right approach to curbing drinking and driving.
The government is talking tough about drunk drivers, but at the same time, they're making it harder for injured people to get justice. It's like because the big companies wanted it, the insurers wanted it. So, yeah, look, there's a natural justice in that. I think that's something we should debate and talk about. But maybe the government should spend more time protecting all Ontarians, ensuring that they had access to justice and that they were all kind of equally treated.
All right, we're hearing now from Marit Stiles on Bill 33.
But what we've done is we've pulled together some folks who are educators, education workers, trustees, family members, students, right, who are here now because we are calling right now for an emergency push to try to prevent Bill 33 from passing. We know the government's intention is going to be to try to make it go to a vote as soon as possible, possibly today, probably tomorrow, but we are going to do everything we can to stop that. So we've got folks here to speak a little bit about why this is so important to the people of Ontario. And I got to tell you, honestly, in my time here over the last 8 odd years, I don't think I've seen the kind of uproar and public engagement that we've seen come together so quickly around many bills as we have with Bill 33. So I'm going to turn this over to the Shadow Minister of Education for the official opposition NDP, Chandra Pasma.
Thanks, Marit. This bill takes away the rights of parents and communities and students to have a say in our local schools, and it's very clear that nobody wants this bill. We have students with us here. The student trustees spoke out this morning. They don't want this bill. They're not asking to lose their voice in our schools. We have teachers and education workers with us here. They want funding to address the challenges in classrooms. They don't want to see community voices shut down in schools. We have parents with us, parents who have concerns already that supervisors in boards where the minister has swept aside democratically elected trustees, they no longer have a voice. They can't even get their questions and concerns addressed in schools. This is not what the people of Ontario are asking for. They are asking for funding to address our challenges for smaller class sizes, for mental health and special education supports, and for money to fix our crumbling schools. The government knows that nobody wants this bill. That's why they shut down the opportunity for the public to come and share their voices. That's why they're trying to ram this through with very little debate at third reading so that this is law before anybody in Ontario has the opportunity to protest. And that's why we're here with teachers, students, and parents in order to say that this is not acceptable, this is not what people want, and the government needs to rethink this plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Colin Matthews from the OSSTF.
Thanks, Chandra. My name is Colin Matthew, and I'm a Vice President of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. We represent 60,000 teachers and education workers from kindergarten right through to the post-secondary sector. What we know about Bill 33, and we know because we've been talking to our stakeholders, our members, to families, to our students since this was first introduced in June, Bill 33 is a distraction from the conditions that exist in our schools today. You've heard the talk about the intent to interfere with democracy in school board elections, et cetera, that comes from it. What we realize is that classes are larger than they were when Doug Ford came to power. We know that violence continues to escalate in our schools, and that that's a direct result of failing student supports, mental health supports, supports ensuring that students have what they need to be successful in our schools. So it's unfortunate that the government has chosen not to listen to the people of Ontario and decide instead to distract from the problems that they've created. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Maston. I'm carrying the voice of 84,000 public elementary teachers in the province of Ontario. From the very beginning, Bill 33 was a distraction, as Colin has just said. It's an opportunity for a government who has sucked out more than $6 billion from the public education system and has dismantled, from a project perspective, has dismantled public education, eroded funding, and is now putting forward a bill and blaming trustees for the state of public education, which we all know is an absolute distraction. And we need to not be fooled by that distraction. We need to call it out when we see it. The fact that this government has rammed this through so rapidly without the committee consultations that normally are required should tell everybody that there's something wrong here. There's something nasty taking place. This is a government that has said this province is open for business. This is what Doug Ford's idea of business is. It's doing things without public consultation, without community voice, and that's what the removal of trustees has done and will continue to do. Our members are deeply disappointed in that, and we will continue to fight this government at every turn when it decides to remove those democratic voices in our public education system.
My name is Lisa Lacaria, and I'm a Catholic teacher and the first Vice President of the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association. I am here representing 45,000 Catholic teachers who teach 600,000 students from kindergarten to grade 12 in publicly funded Catholic schools across this province. If you hear frustration in my voice today, it is because, as a teacher, I am frustrated. Just as families, students, teachers, and education workers are from all across this province. With the Ford government's misguided priorities, its repeated attempts to distract from the chronic underfunding in our schools, and the refusal to invest in what students need to succeed. Bill 33 is not about supporting students and strengthening education. It is about silencing parents and local communities who know our schools best. I'm dressed in red today for Red for Ed, as are thousands of teachers and education workers, as well as unionized workers from across Ontario, as we say no to Bill 33. I also share with you 6,654 signed petitions from across Ontarians across the province that have been sent to Premier Doug Ford, Minister Paul Calandra, and MPPs from all parties, calling on this government to withdraw Bill 33. Every day I see the impact of that chronic underfunding is having on our students. We don't need to have more centralized control in the back rooms at Queen's Park. Catholic teachers, joined by thousands of parents and families across this province, call on the Ford government to withdraw Bill 33 and work toward a better future for Ontario students.
Hi, I'm Joe Tagani. I'm the president of the Ontario School Board Council of Unions, representing 57,000 CUPE education workers in Ontario. Tomorrow, the Ford government is set to ram through Bill 33. One of the most dangerous, anti-democratic pieces of legislation Ontario's education system has ever seen. For 175 years, elected school board trustees have been the public's voice in education. Trustees aren't perfect, but they can be questioned, challenged, and voted out. That's what democracy looks like. Bill 33 replaces all of that with unelected, government-appointed supervisors who answer only to Doug Ford. No accountability, no transparency, and no local voice. Passing this bill tomorrow won't fix a single thing in our schools. It will only silence the people that are trying to fix them. Because the real crisis isn't governance. It's chronic underfunding, a crisis in understaffing, overcrowded classrooms, and workers and students facing daily violence with too few supports. Removing trustees doesn't help students. It hides the government's failure to support them. Let's be clear. Bill 33 is not about improving education. It's about consolidating power and shutting communities out of the decisions that directly affect kids and education workers. But even after this bill passes, our fight doesn't end. The OSBCU has stood up to this government before and will keep standing up for public education, for democratic oversight, and for every worker and every student in Ontario.
All right. So we're happy to take questions. I just want to finish up by saying this. You know, for parents out there, students out there, education workers, anybody who cares about public education and publicly funded education in this province, the Minister of Education is telling you that he's going to fix the problems in education. But the problem in education is this government and this minister. And this isn't, if your local school, if you're worried that your local school in Northern Ontario is going to close, this is going to fix that. In fact, it's going to make it more likely, because decisions are going to be made in downtown Toronto and not in your communities and not by anyone who is accountable to the voters of this province. So with that, we're happy to take questions.
Does the minister not have a point, though, when he says that there is a governance issue at some boards? I mean, we can look at the Near North Board or other places. So does he not need this legislation to...
The minister already has tools, which he's demonstrated by putting boards under supervision already. But the challenges that we see with that is that the supervisors have zero qualifications. They are not being accountable to parents. They're making decisions behind closed doors, and nobody can challenge their decisions even in court. So what we need is not more of this power in the hands of the minister. What we need is the opportunity for the people of Ontario to hold the people making decisions in our schools accountable through democratic elections, through public consultations where we can come and have our say. That's what we need more of, not less.
The education minister says that he doesn't have any imminent plans when he does get these new powers. Do you believe him when he says that, despite rushing through the bill?
No, I don't know why else he would be rushing through the bill. You know, we know that this has always been a power play. You know, you heard the folks on the front line here tell you that this is about consolidating power by this government. Like, we know, we see it as parents and family members of kids in schools today and as education workers. We see the packed classrooms, right? We see the children that are not getting the supports that they need. We see parents who are getting further and further away from the ability to be able to actually advocate for their children because they don't have any way of reaching the trustees anymore. The path to fixing things is gone with this government. So, you know, if he doesn't have a plan to do something right away, I don't know why he's rushing through the legislation, but I can tell you one thing, right? Even once he passes this bill, if he passes this bill, we are going to keep fighting every single day so he doesn't forget that our priority and the people of Ontario, their priority is that our kids and their education workers, the people who teach them and take care of them in our schools, are protected and are safe and have all the support they need. And we believe in that local voice. It matters.
What does that look like, Mara? What does keep fighting look like? Like, are we talking protests? Are we talking demonstrations?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I got to tell you, you know, when you look back over the last 8 years, right? This government, this is not the first time this government has barreled through with some kind of legislation that nobody asked for and nobody wanted. And what ends up happening? They're back here again a few months later, maybe a year later, repealing that legislation because it's just bad legislation. So that's why they keep getting it wrong. They won't listen to the people. They don't have hearings. They don't have adequate debate, and then they pass bad laws. So we will continue to organize in our communities, and we will continue to remind those MPPs, those Conservative government MPPs, that people do not want these centralized powers, and we're going to get them to repeal the legislation. I don't know if anybody else wants to.
All right, we're hearing from the official opposition right now. Marit Stiles, the leader of the NDP, and members of different unions around the education sector in Ontario. They are debating right now what to do about Bill 33.